an extended and in-depth conversation with Louisiana Ragins head football coach Mike Desormeaux on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. We had such a great conversation with Ragin Cajuns head football coach Mike Desormeaux. We are making it into two podcasts. This will be part one. The first part focuses on Ben Wooldridge, a quarterback undergoing knee surgery in November and is back to start. He is completely cleared for camp. How much does that take away distractions of not having a quarterback battle? We also discussed winning one-score ball games. They won a bunch in 21 and struggled a little bit there in 2022. And something that music to my ears, so to speak, how aggressive will they be in the red zone trying to go after touchdowns instead of kicking field goals? Let's get to it. He is the head coach of the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. He is Mike Desormeaux. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We continue with our 2023 Sunbelt previews. We bring in the head coach of the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns, Mike Desormeaux. He is in his second season, getting ready to do that. He came packed with big news at Sunbelt Media Days. You said quarterback Ben Wooldridge, about 9 months into his rehab of a torn ACL, is completely cleared. How surprised were you at getting that news and passing it on to everybody else?
Yeah, I was shocked. I think Ben was the only one who expected it. From the beginning, he kept telling me he was going to be ready, and I kept trying to kind of, temper his expectations a little bit, just kind of understanding the nature of that injury. And I think it's a testament to how hard he worked to get back. But certainly, Chris Litt and our training staff and our team doctors and physical therapists. I mean, it's amazing. That they've got him out there doing what he's doing right now. This summer, watching him progress from June to July and just seeing how far he came, it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do.
All right, so with the understanding that he's obviously got a mental, not only the physical issues, I guess he's overcome that, but he's got to overcome the mental aspects of it. So we'll just say for right now, he's the guy. And I asked Charles Huff of Marshall because he's got his starting quarterback and things can change as well. They still got to play well to earn that job. How much easier is it for you off of your plate? You don't have to answer to guys like me. There is a pretty extensive media here in Lafayette. And then he also mentioned how important it is for the guys. They know their roles going in, so it's not a roller coaster. I played well today. I'm going to be the starter. I didn't play well today. They can just concentrate on, as everybody likes to say, the process and getting better each day.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it makes a lot. I think when you have a quarterback like an open competition like we had last year, there's just a lot of distractions, for the team, and it becomes it's the question every day that everyone's being asked about it, and our players that go to media, they're being asked about it, which is a tough spot for them to be in because they're just trying to do their job. It is a little bit of a distraction, for us. The biggest thing I think is how well Ben played, kind of last year. And, I think what separates him more than probably anything is number one, his mastery of the offense, how hard he's worked to learn the ins and outs of it. But, his leadership qualities and his leadership ability on this team, it's pretty apparent, when you just if you just observe for a little while, you can see that he means a lot to this team and they respect him a lot. So having all those things back, it's not just having another quarterback back. I mean, obviously that's a good thing, but there's a lot of things that been a lot of qualities he possesses that, you just in a 6-year senior, with these COVID seniors, it's just, It's something that, you're probably not going to get very often anymore. Some of these guys are older and more mature than they had been. So, along with that, like you said, it's just you want these guys to put blinders on. Just go do your job. Go run your huddle. Go make your plays. and don't worry about everything else. And that's kind of what we preach. And, certainly Ben knows he's got to mentally show himself, his team, everyone that, hey man, I haven't missed a beat, but I think he deserves, to have a little bit of I guess maybe a little bit of a tilt towards him, to make sure that he gets what he needs. And I think he's earned it.
Talking to Mike Desormeaux, head coach of Louisiana Ragin Cajuns on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about mastering that offense. It's basically a lot of the same coaches that were here when Billy Napier was the head coach. You're here. Tim Leger is the offensive coordinator. How has the offense tweaked? Do you tweak it to the style of quarterback, right? We were finding out Levi Lewis is a really good college quarterback is what we found out this past season. So how do you tweak it to Ben's strengths and the strengths of your team moving forward, and got to change things up because people saw what it was last year?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it. I think is that every year, your team needs different things. Your quarterbacks need different things, and whenever Levi was here, Coach Napier, did a really good job playing his strength, and we didn't ask him to stand in the pocket and throw it a whole lot. That wasn't really his game. We let him get on the edge and get on the move and throw some perimeter throws and things like that and take shots. I think with Ben's a little bit more of a pocket guy. Obviously he's athletic enough to hurt you with his legs. He did that, for us numerous times last year when he played, but he's comfortable in the pocket. He is really comfortable fixing protections and sliding it over and remiking things. Last year for us, we felt like we needed to throw it a little bit more, especially considering the youth that we had on the offensive line, the youth at running back. We knew that we had a bunch of receivers that, could make plays, and we need to throw it a little bit more. So that was a good fit for him. And I think every year you try to build off of it. You try to build off of what you did the year before. You go back and look at it and you try to decide on things that are going to help this team. And, with a guy like Ben, you feel like there's a lot on the table you can do. Obviously in the past game, I think he understands that and makes really good decisions, doesn't put the ball in jeopardy. When you take shots, you feel good about taking shots with him, because if it's not there, it's not just going to be a throw up for no reason. He's going to check it down and he'll get it down to somebody that's open. And then this year, certainly we expect to run the football a lot better, which helps everything. So, Ben, I think gives you a lot of options. He may not be, he's not the runner that Levi was, but, I think that in some aspects in the pocket, I think he does some things, better than maybe what Levi did. So, this year going into it with him being the one going in, we should really be able to get things tailored to where he can go out there and go play his game and feel really comfortable in that. And, that's something that we're excited about too, is, Ben is pretty heavily involved in a lot of the process, with things in game plan weeks whenever he's around. He likes to know what's going in so he can understand, so he can be ahead of it in his film study, particularly third downs and third down protections and routes and things like that. He's all in on this stuff. So I think, it'll be good for us, getting this thing tailored towards him a little bit earlier, maybe in fall camp, and then being able to roll with it.
So we're talking to Mike Desormeaux, head coach of Louisiana Ragin Cajuns, Locked On Sunbelt. So does he have any say? Does he say, you know what, coach, I feel more comfortable with that play than this play. We can work on that play in practice, but I kind of like this one better. I can execute that better. Does that come up?
Yeah, particularly a lot of times, whenever we go through the weekend, we get things on the call sheet. What we do on Friday night is we get them to rank the pass plays in different areas, whether it's third downs or maybe it's in red zone, gold zone, the things that they feel really comfortable with, because, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much, as a coach, we like a play or a concept.
Sure. Right.
If the guy, pulling the trigger, if he doesn't feel comfortable and there's some kind of gray area in there for him, well, it's probably not going to work out very good. So, yeah, we do that with any, even when Chandler was starting, we did it with Chandler as well. Sure. But yeah, Ben's probably a little bit, he's a little bit more involved probably than everybody else.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll go over how the Ragin Cajuns can get back on the winning side of one-score ball games as we'll continue our conversation with Ragin Cajuns head football coach Mike Desormeaux. Let me tell you a little bit about LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, back at it. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Continuing part one of our conversation with Ragin Cajuns head football coach Mike Desormeaux. They won a lot of close ball games when they go 13-1 in 21. They end up losing a bunch in 2022. How can the Ragin Cajuns get back on the winning side in one-score ball games? All right, so let's look back to last year because I had people ask me what's wrong with the Ragin Cajuns. I go, well, outside of the Rice game in Florida State, which is, not really fair. Although you guys were coming up short, you guys were not getting blown out. And I was like, well, there's a new head coach. There's, he took a bunch of players with him, took a bunch of coaching staff with him, maybe more than was first anticipated. And yet you guys were able to turn it around and eventually get to a bowl game. What do you think was separating even that South Alabama game and maybe even the Troy game? Those were games that one you probably should have won and one you could have won. ULM, same thing. Probably could have won that, if not should have won that. So you guys were right there a lot. How do you get over the hump in 2023?
Dave, really, to be honest with you, I think that's kind of the difference in this league. If you go back, even go back to when we won the Western Division 4 years in a row. You're talking about a lot of one-possession games.
Right.
You go 13-1, in 21 and you're 7-0 in one-possession games. That's the difference in the season. This year I believe Troy was maybe 6-1 in one possession games, and South Al was like 4-1 or 5-1. That's the difference in the games. Now, I think as a coach, it's a bad. I don't think hoping's ever a plan. I don't think you just say, well, I just hope we make the plays this year. That's
sure.
That's probably the easy out. To say, well, we didn't make enough plays. I think as a coaching staff, you sit down and you look back, and you got to start with you, and you got to start with, okay, well, what can we do to make it a little bit better? And, for us and everything that we looked at, certainly there's some third down things offensively. We need to be better in a couple of third down scenarios and situations, and you're always trying to get better at everything. But the big issues, for us offensively was touchdown percentage in the red zone. It's just, you got to score touchdowns when you get down there. And,
right.
We lost 3 regular season games, Western Division games, by an average of 7 points. Well, you go score 2 more touchdowns instead of kicking field goals. Whether you make them or miss them, it's still 4 points or 7-point swing. So that was an area that we said, man, offensively, this instantly changes 3 games last year if we score touchdowns here in the red area. So then you go back to defense and you say, well, we give up some yards, and I understand that, that's kind of the nature of what college football is. You're going to give up yards 20 to 20. That's just, offenses or there's too many things to stop everything. So statistically, defensively, I thought we did a really good job of bowing our neck at times and things like that. The one area that showed up was our end of game 2-minute. Multiple opportunities to finish games. If you go, Houston, Troy, certainly, we lose a 17-point lead, at the very end of the game, last 16 minutes of the game. And then South Alabama, you have them backed up twice, and you got a chance to really shoot. You got a chance to probably get the ball back and a chance for us to kick a field goal to go ahead. I want to say it was a minute and some change left, on that 3rd and 10 where they picked up the big run. So, I think those are things that for us as a coaching staff, you look at it and you say, well, that's the difference right there. If you can improve in those two areas, and defensively, you're always talking about turnovers because that's possessions and that's opportunities, getting more turnovers. But those are the areas that we as a coaching staff said, look, instantly we can turn last year's 6-6 regular season into 9-3, and really you're playing the conference championship if you win those games. So there's not a huge difference from the top and the bottom in this league. I think that's what makes it so much fun. But for us, we certainly want to get back in the top when this thing's all said and done.
All right, let's take one more time out. When we come back, music to my ears on what Mike Desormeaux is talking about in the red zone. I'm going to love it if it comes to fruition. But first, now, 3, 2, 1. When we wrap up with Mike Desormeaux, he'll tell us how aggressive that the Ragin Cajuns are going to be when they get in the red zone. Want to thank everybody for continuing to grow the station, grow the channel. It's been fantastic. Still a little bit short of the 3 or 4 subscribers a day. Trying to get to 500 by opening Saturday, September 2nd. So we're falling a little bit behind. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, you can find it. We're getting great audio downloads. So that's fantastic. It is featured on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, along with Amazon and iHeart. So just search for Locked On Sunbelt wherever you get your podcasts, and you should be able to find it. Remember, this is just part 1 of our conversation with Mike Desormeaux. We will have another part of this conversation with Coach Des on Friday as well. So let's wrap up part 1. He is going to be, or at least they're working on it, on how to be aggressive in the red zone. No keep it close shed anymore. They're going for touchdowns and not field goals. Talking to Mike Desormeaux, Louisiana Ragin Cajuns head coach, Locked On Sunbelt. All right, so having said what you just said, I'm a guy who likes to go for it, right? You cross that 50 or even inside the 40-yard line, and it's less than 4th and 5, I like to go for it. Do you get more aggressive inside the red zone? I'm not going crazy, like, 4th and goal from the 7. That may be a little bit insane. But if you get inside that 5, are you going to be a little bit more aggressive and try to go for those touchdowns instead of maybe settling for field goals?
So we're actually talking about that right now. George Munoz, who's our tight ends coach and an associate head coach, he helps me with a lot of the situation preparation and even in-game situation management. That's something that he's done actually for a while now, and he does a really good job with it. These analytics are getting more and more aggressive,
right?
And they go for it. They're telling you to go for it more and more. And I think part of it, is more people are using the analytics. More people are going for it. More people are having success. So I think, I'm not a 100%. The book says go for it. We're going. I'm a little bit of a gut feel.
There's got to be a little feel. Yeah, a little feel.
I think there,
sure.
Like last year, you go to the Georgia Southern game, and we kicked a bunch of field goals in that game, but we got out to a lead, and it was like we kept making them. And so, Kenny was nailing them. So it's like you keep tacking a little bit on. Like that's a different situation. I think there are some games, though, where it's like, look, field goals aren't going to be enough, and that. We got to score touchdowns. And, I think you tend to be a little bit more aggressive in there, especially today. But part of that too is, do you have a kicker that you feel is automatic? And, and that's the thing going into the season, you got to feel that way. And then you got to feel that way throughout the year. So there's a lot of factors that play into it, but the more it goes, the more it tells you be aggressive, go for it. Especially, we feel like our defense plays really good football for us and gives us an opportunity. They know that sometimes they're going to get put in a tough spot. They got to go stop the bleeding and get it back for us. And they know that.
I love hearing that.